All right, hey everybody, welcome to Real Late Show with Chris and Craig. I'm Chris. Obviously, Craig's with me. I've got my kids in the background, so we're going to have to deal with that in a little bit. So, hey, I'll get you in a minute. Okay, go play with your book. All right, I've got the kids today, so the kids are going to be kind of our background audience for today.
Yeah.
So we'll do our best. How are you today, Craig?
I'm doing pretty good. I think we're gonna have to change the name of the show though. It's not so late anymore. It's like
Yeah.
really early now.
Well, I'm trying to think too. My schedule, I'm a TV producer now, and my schedule has changed. And I'm trying to figure out how firm that could be because Craig and I have the time here on Monday mornings. Maybe we can even do some live, shows where we just put this out live. The hard thing is just scheduling is so hard, man. This isn't our primary gig, so we just gotta meet when we can meet. So I
We
don't
do
know.
our best, yeah.
Yeah, but the great thing is, hey, we do it when we can. So we're here, and let's talk about some news that's happening. I'm kind of curious about some of the stuff. First of all, ESPN has a little bit more understanding of what streaming is going to be like. They're saying it's sometime this year. The thought is, I mean, there really hasn't been a date yet, but you always think, hey, football is a big thing. Can we get it firmed up and in place for football season? So
Yeah.
either we do it right before football or maybe in the summer, and that way we can kind of firm it up before the season starts. Craig, I'm hearing 25 to 30 bucks a month, which
Hmm.
seems a little bit high, but I mean, I think that's what you're going to end up paying. The thought is you'll have access to all of ESPN's channels linear, so you can watch it linear. There'll be pay per view options. But Craig, I sent you an article, and they were saying some things I haven't heard before. They were talking a little bit about user generated content. I wonder what that means. Like, does this mean we can like upload this thing to some type of server? Is this going to be like a really weird YouTube for ESPN? I'm a little confused what user generated content means.
Yeah, it's interesting. They actually had another story where it just says kind of details are unclear. Um, but yeah, I'm guessing it's sort of like it's kind of like a YouTube influence on the streaming. So, maybe they're going to try to pilfer more money out of that aspect of it. And I guess, the one big thing is, do they pay for this if they pluck someone's like, reaction to a touchdown or a goal or, a game winning shot or something. So I do wonder like how this all is going to, come into play. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I think we all knew this was coming. We knew that the ESPN was talking with Fox and Turner Sports about, that big venue sports package that ended up kind of fizzling out. And I think it's maybe for the better, I guess. I mean, maybe the price point would have been better, as a bundle as opposed to individually. But, who's to say that in the future, like you've been able to do with other other promotions where you can bundle right now I have the AB I have the Disney, Hulu, and HBO Max or Max bundle where I get all three of those. So who's to say that maybe Fox and ESPN might not bundle up in the future possibly. But it's probably about what I expected, $25-$30. I think the biggest thing is, like the story says, they're bracing for confusion because most people will think that ESPN Plus is you know the standard right now, so everybody might get confused about what the role of ESPN Plus will be. But I think they're going to try and make it that extra tier where maybe that will be the $30 tier instead of the $25 tier, or maybe it'll be $35. Who knows? But I think that it'll be, hopefully it'll just be easy to navigate. I think that's the biggest thing. I think you adding a bunch of content, you're adding live channels, perhaps like a lot of the places like Peacock and Paramount Plus have, and now HBO or now Max has, and I keep saying HBO Max because I've been binge watching a bunch of HBO shows. But I feel like it's going to be, it's up to them and how they weather the storm as far as making sure there's no confusion, because I don't think there should be, as long as it's laid out in a better, more user-friendly way where you can access what you need to access. So hopefully they'll take that advice and do that for when they launch this. I'm guessing it's going to be in August, because college football season starts in August, and I think they're going to want to get a leg up making sure that they're on top of things in August instead of September when the NFL opens up, because they have Monday Night Football, of course, but then I think they're going to want the preseason games on this. They're going to want all their, other sports that they have that are on ESPN. They're going to want college football. They're going to want hockey. They're going to want basketball, when basketball season starts. So I think they're going to ramp this up probably in August to make sure that they're ahead of the game and everything's prepared and ready, and they can work out some of the bugs before, college football really gets started late August.
Well, we've talked about this in the past. How do you license some of this content? Because obviously ESPN's not going to have every sports contract in the world, and that's fine. But I'll tell you, Craig, I was thinking about this, and here's what's starting to bother me about the whole thing. I understand that these companies, and even the business you and I work in, we're working for bigger companies that own a variety of content offerings, which is fine. We understand that. You could tell me about what your company offers. I could tell you about what my company offers. When you look at the current streaming, you have like Peacock, you have Max, what's owned by Time Warner and everything, and I totally get that. Companies want to give out their own content, but here's look at you and what you like. You like movies, you like wrestling, you like baseball and other stuff. I wish there was a way, and you're going to say, well, that's the old school cable. But I wish there was a way that we could have a better use of saying, hey, I like sports and I like news. So here's a way I can get the best of news and sports, even if it's on different offerings, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Because right now you're saying, okay, I like Fox. So, we're going to do a Fox streaming service, okay? Or I like NBC. I don't think people think about that much. I mean, I think they're going to be like, hey, I like movies, wrestling, and baseball. How can you help me out? Boom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, Fox, and we're going to talk about that in a second here, but, Fox is in an interesting place because they're pretty much like the last frontier of streaming now. Like, they're the last people to get in on this. And I do wonder what it's going to look like. I know they have like Fox Nation or whatever, which is more of their harder news kind of stuff, with some with some individual programming. Like I think Dennis Quaid has a show, and Kevin Costner has a show on Fox Nation, and it's like $7.99 a month or whatever for that service. But I do wonder, does Fox streaming integrate all their Fox News stuff in with everything else? They probably have to, I would think. Kind of like how Max has with CNN. Obviously, that's given them everything from movies to TV to sports to now news. So, Max essentially has everything that a viewer would probably want. And I think Fox is probably going to have to follow suit. But then I think most people might respond to Fox more if they have sports, which they do. I mean, they have FS1, they have FS2, they have all their college football, basketball, they have some baseball as well. So I do wonder how that will work and what that cost will be, because I think at the end of the day, ESPN has a really larger footprint right now in sports, but they will be losing the baseball contract, and that's going to be up for grabs. And I think there's going to be a lot of interest in that. And I actually think there will be a lot of interest in that from Fox, because they already have a contract with baseball, with the World Series. They have FS1 games every week. They're going to have a game on Tuesday or on Wednesday with the Dodgers and Cubs playing in Japan. So it's pretty clear that these contracts are going to be highly sought after. I think baseball's contract is still going to be sought after. I'm still baffled by the NBA's contracts because it just seems like the attendance is waning on watching NBA games. So I do wonder if like MLB can come through with a bigger deal. And I think that, places like Fox Sports, I think you're going to see Amazon might be interested. Even Apple TV Plus might be interested because Apple TV Plus carries Friday night games now, and they have now for a couple of years. So I don't think Major League Baseball is fearful that they're not going to get what they're looking for, or at least not get a contract that's worthy of, the sports landscape now. But, it is sad to see ESPN leave that, and ESPN probably shouldn't leave that because that's a lot of games that they could really plug in during the summer when there's really not a lot going on in football, basketball. Baseball is really that summertime sport, and now you're losing it. So, ESPN needs to maybe rethink negotiating that contract. I would say.
Yeah, it's hard to say, and I don't know if you saw it. I saw in the link, and I shared you some links. I'm not sure if I shared you this one. There's a link out there where the Fox CEO was kind of talking about what the streaming service would look like. And he was indicating, look, you could get the Fox properties on there. So think, Fox News, Fox Business. I think there's a Fox Weather out there.
Okay.
You have the FS1, FS2. So you get those linear. You get, I would assume it would throw in the Fox Nation content, but you're paying $20 a month. And I get that. You're getting a lot with that. I get it. Companies can't nickel and dime and offer services for a couple bucks or whatever else the case might be. But the interesting thing about all of this stuff is I don't know. I'm confused, Craig, because okay, say you get Fox, and I understand we're all paying more than $20 for streaming. But if I'm like, hey, I'm gonna get Fox and I'm happy, this is a great service. Well, Fox News bends a certain way politically, and Fox Entertainment bends a certain way. How many people are really just into Fox content? You know what I mean? So I like NFC football. I'm right wing, and I like Hell's Kitchen or whatever. You know what I mean? People don't think that way. And that's where I kind of get a little bit confused with everything. And I'm not quite sure how to move forward with this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest problems for Fox right now too is a lot of their properties have been, a lot of their movie properties have been sold. Obviously, they sold 20th Century Fox to Disney, so that's why you see a lot of 20th Century Fox movies that go straight to Hulu or straight to Disney. And I think the biggest problem is they have a lot of great programming like Family Guy and Bob's Burgers and The Simpsons that have all been on TV for several years. All of those shows are on Disney Plus and Hulu. So you don't even need now maybe you might need it for some of the other programming. And I'm sure that a lot of their newer programming, they might be a little bit more hesitant to sell those streaming rights because maybe they knew that they were going to be doing this. And, so maybe newer programming from the Fox lineup isn't going on there. But right now, I mean, you can basically get most of Fox's TV lineup, I'm assuming, on Hulu. So I don't know what the draw will be aside from sports, which means I think they need to heavily invest into live sports, which means trying to get in on baseball, trying to get in on basketball, trying to get on hockey. I think that's their plan. I think that needs to be part of their plan going forward because, unless they start recouping some of these programs and saying, well, Family Guy or The Simpsons is no longer going to be on Disney Plus. We're going to take that back over and only put it on Fox streaming. They're going to need to do that at some point. So, and I don't know what their contracts look like, but it could be some lean looking years for them until that, that kind of stuff can be available, or maybe they can have it on their system or on their streaming service. But people might say, well, why would I pay $20 a month for Fox to watch Family Guy when I could get Disney Plus bundle for $16.99 and watch, Family Guy, a little bit of sports, and maybe if you don't like sports, you don't care. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they look like on the rollout and how that grows and develops, because I think for the most part, most of the play, Apple TV Plus was a slow rollout. They didn't have a ton of content. Disney Plus even was a really slow rollout of non-original content. So it's not a bad thing to roll out and have not as much content maybe as the other streaming giants do, because you're not expected to. But it's how they grow their library, I think, is what's important. And I think that's what the plan is going to be interesting. Are they going to be focused more on sports? Are they going to be focused more on trying to like rebuy or take back their Fox properties and say you can only watch The Simpsons on Fox, you can't watch it now on Disney and Hulu?
Yeah, that's going to be kind of really weird. I don't know. And the ESPN thing, getting back to that, you know what, Craig, I don't know if I'm going to subscribe myself, but at least with the ESPN, you've got, it's sports. You know what I mean? If you like sports, you pay the $25, you get sports with ESPN. Yeah. It's like you don't have to do the other services. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always about value, and especially with ESPN. Like, ESPN is sports; that's all it is. So, I enjoy Peacock and Paramount Plus because I get sports on top of movies and TV and news. And I think I would almost say this: if I was Disney, I think the best route maybe would be to do what Max almost did with their sports coverage, which was a premium add-on. Because I think that having ESPN standalone is fine and all, and you're probably still going to get as many subscribers as you would if you did my model, which would be to say Disney Plus subscribers can pay a premium extra $20, $15, whatever you want to do, to get the ESPN content. And then when you go on your Disney Plus or Hulu app, then you can click on the ESPN tab and get everything ESPN related on that tab. I don't know if that'll ever happen. I kind of feel like, now that Disney has bought out the rest of Hulu and kind of, made that a full-on 100% partnership, I do wonder if for the sake of confusion in the future, this could be 5-10 years from now, that maybe Disney Plus is the primary streaming service because of the branding it has. But instead of having a separate Hulu and a separate ESPN app, everything is just on Disney Plus, and it's just a singular streaming app with the tabs like every other place has, whether they have tabs for their specific brands, whether it be Max having a CNN tab or a Turner Classic Movie tab or an Adult Swim for Cartoon Network tab. So I think that's the future for Disney. I just think that they're trying to let the brand kind of grow a little bit before they say Hulu is no longer its own separate service. You don't need a Hulu app. Now, you already don't. You can go into Disney Plus and there is a Hulu app, but I'm saying flat out get rid of Hulu's app and no longer have it be downloadable. And then everything is just on Disney Plus. You don't have a Hulu app to go to. You go through Disney Plus, and that's it.
Yeah, it was interesting. I saw ESPN, they were talking about that, and they were like, no, we want our own dedicated app, where I'm sure you'll still see maybe some selected ESPN programming on Disney Plus.
Yeah, which I like. I'm glad they do that.
Yeah, but I think they say, hey, we want our app so we can contain it there. And you know what? And again, for the user-friendly guy and me, I guess the point of what I'm trying to get at here is I didn't mind Venue. And I know the price tag for Venue was going to be a little bit high, but I'm like, whoa, this will get me most of the sports I need. I'm a sports guy. This would have been it. But I get it because, again, Craig, we work for larger companies that are content providers pretty much. And you understand from working for the companies we work for, they want to protect their content. I get it. You know what I mean? It's true for where I work. It's true for where you work. So these companies, they want to protect what they have. I'm not sure if the model makes sense for that. You know what I mean? Because Disney, there's reasons why my family likes Disney. I got kids. You hear one of my kids probably talking in the background. She wants her Disney stuff. Okay. I like ESPN. My wife likes some stuff on Hulu. I totally get that.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense. But we don't, other than maybe that as example, we don't think of companies. We think of what do we individually like. So I don't know how you get around it, Craig, to be honest with you. Venue's not going to work.
Right.
It would be cool to come up with a movie streaming service. You know what I mean? Put all the movies out for one. Okay, this movie is owned by Peacock or whatever else the case might be.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe if you have movie streaming service, either you find a way that they could all save the money, or maybe say if you paid $30 a month, you get to watch 15 movies and it takes out a credit. So if you watch a Peacock movie, that might go straight to Peacock. I don't know, Craig. I don't want to go back to cable, but this is starting to confuse the heck out of me. And I'm not sure if I totally like it.
Yeah, there's a lot there, and I can see why ESPN and others would kind of want to be separate from Disney, because that's why you see like ESPN on ABC when they have college football or other, they have the score bug and they have the graphics for ESPN. So I can see why ESPN would like that, obviously, but I do wonder though if, for the sake of confusion, that it would be easier maybe for everything to be under one app. And maybe they could do that still, where just like Hulu, obviously they have the Hulu app is integrated into, Disney Plus. It's just separate. And I'm sure they would do that with ESPN because they want to get as many eyeballs on that as possible. So, and they could probably track that too, to say, well, we're having more people, more people seem to be coming over to Disney Plus to watch our ESPN content. So maybe we don't need an ESPN dedicated app, because, that costs money for them to have. They have to maintain that. They have to make sure it's working. So it's possible that maybe it makes more sense in the future. But right now, I can see why they want to be sort of separate. But there was a long time ago where Disney Plus was like, we're not putting adult content on our streaming service. And guess what? Now it is, and it's not just the rated R Disney, Marvel movies like a Deadpool or Logan that are on there. You're talking about new movies that are streaming that, quite frankly, are just on there now. And it's like common knowledge now. And it's like, it doesn't, like, no one thinks twice about it, right, in a lot of ways because of that. So in the future, I can see Disney Plus wanting to capitalize on that and not just having select ESPN content, but maybe having dedicated channels. We talked a lot in the past about, everybody wants live TV channels because guess what? You have advertising, services on there that you can take advantage as another revenue stream. So, obviously the one exception, I guess, maybe with the exception of CNN, is Max, where Max has like 4 or 5 different HBO channels that you can access, which is nice.
Yeah, it would be weird. Something else I'm thinking about, Craig, and I don't know. Sorry, I'm just coming up with weird ideas today. It was funny. I've heard you guys talk about, like with George, about like some of these baseball channels. They're going to where you could buy individual games. You know what I mean? So you can either pay $20 a month to watch the Guardians, or if there's one game you want to watch, it's like $5 a game. And I'm like, boy, I don't know if there's a baseball game I want to spend $5 on. But I kind of wonder, Craig, I watch probably more TV than the typical person, but would there ever come a model where we just do pay-per-view for everything? Maybe $1 a program or something, or $1 a series or something. It sounds ridiculous, and maybe I'm sure companies don't want to do that, but I don't know, Craig. I mean, it comes down to, maybe I'm old man yelling from my couch here on Monday morning. I've got 6 or 7 different services. I pay per the year. I get commercial there, so I might be paying $50. It's actually a pretty good deal because I got Netflix and Paramount and Peacock and most of Max and Disney and most of the big stuff. So I'm not paying that much money. But Craig, I came back home from work last night. It's midnight. I'm tired. I want to turn something on. I'm too tired to think about, oh, this is on Peacock, or oh, this is on Paramount. I'm just like, I want to flip something on and be done with it, man. And I'll tell you too, old man talking, but I turn on the Roku channel sometimes when I'm just tired, and there's a goofy old sitcom I turn on, and I'll watch. I'm happy with.
Yeah, I've done that a lot lately too. Or if I want some background noise on, at home or something, I put like Tubi or Pluto TV on, or Freevee, where they have the live channels, and it's it's something that I don't have to necessarily pay attention to, but a Storage Wars or something I'll watch or something, and that's nice. I think those are nice to have, and it'd be nice if everything was wrapped up into one little type package where everything is all in one place, but that'll of course never happen, because unless everybody gets their bite at the apple, they're not going to partner with every single streamer. But I think it's in the early going here, you're seeing those partnerships form, where Max has formed with Disney Plus, and I think there's other bundles where you can get like Netflix and something else on like Xfinity or whatever. So I think there's the groundwork that's being laid for something like that could happen. But I just feel that unless all these streamers get their individual bite at the apple and they're satisfied with it, they're not going to do it. But if they do, I mean, that would be great too, where everything is like one app. But then again, look what happened with Venue Sports. That was just a sports app that was going to have various sports content. And then I'm guessing Peacock and Paramount Plus were like, hey, we've got sports. That's not fair. And all of a sudden it's a no-go. So,
well, you know who posed a problem? It was like Fubo, because Fubo, I actually tried that for a day. Ridiculously expensive, but they have you have your regionals, you have Fox, ESPN. They really do a great job of putting all the sports together. And Fubu is kind of like, whoa, Venue is going to take a swing at us. And Venue was a lot cheaper than Fubu. So, I mean, I heard Fubu was the one that kind of scrapped that deal. So,
okay.
Yeah, everyone's got their hands in the pocket. We're just trying to figure out stuff. I sent you another story. Looney Tunes, they're pulling off some of the back catalog off Max. Hey, I like Looney Tunes. It kind of bugs me. Man, I wouldn't mind if my kids would watch Looney Tunes. But I'll be honest, there's so much stuff on TV, I didn't even notice that it was on Max. So, yeah, the old purist in me gets a little ticked off about that. But there's too much content there. I know you're a big Max guy. Is it bothering you that Looney Tunes is kind of being taken off?
No, and they actually had like a I don't know if it still runs or whatever, but they have like the new Looney Tunes and other spin-offs. And look, I mean, I get the popularity, but honestly, Max has so much other content, especially children's content. I think we've talked about this in the past, where Max is always seen as like this adult HBO like content. They have a lot of content. They have Sesame Street on there. They have a lot of other children's programming on there. I think, obviously, if you're a nostalgic Looney Tunes fan, you're probably upset. And I know a lot of this maybe came in the wake of some of the uproar over the, I can't remember, it's like the Coyote versus Acme movie that got scrapped for the purposes of a tax write-off, with all those other movies that they kind of scrapped their release. Batgirl was one of those movies that was scrapped, and so people started uproaring over those. And of course, Coyote versus Acme was one of the movies that never made it to the light of day on either a theatrical release or a streaming release. I think it was streaming only, because at the time, I don't think they would have scrapped a theatrical release movie at that time. But so it's not something I've noticed, although I think we watched a couple of episodes when they first put it back on. But it's not something I'm going to really miss, or I'm sure at some point it will make its way back, I would imagine, unless they're selling the streaming rights to it to try to recoup some money. That's the only other option. I could see them selling it to, Amazon's Freevee or somebody that just wants to add some extra content programming, it would be a good library to buy, I would think, for most people, because a lot of the nostalgic kids that grew up on it, like myself and things, would probably want their kids to watch it, and so on and so forth. So I could kind of see that being a thing that would bring some money in for Max and Turner.
Well, I think part of the thing we have to realize too is, okay, like we're a small podcast. So if we can get our audience numbers up, hey, that's exciting for us. But if you look at like Looney Tunes, maybe their point isn't, oh, we want more people to watch our Looney Tunes. Like you said, if they can get a good streaming deal, yeah, they still want people to watch it. They still want people to care about it. But man, if you get paid for a streaming deal, it doesn't matter if a million people watch it or nobody watches, right? Because you get paid either way.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's what we need to do, Craig. We need to, I don't know, we need to figure out a way of getting paid here. So
yeah. We need to buy the Looney Tunes library for like $200 million and put it on the streaming service.
Yeah. Or we'll put it on our podcast feed. Hey, you get this podcast and Looney Tunes. And then we're like, why is everyone watching Looney Tunes and not us? I put this in here, and Craig, we've had fights, arguments about this. Ted Lasso is back.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not going to sit here and say the show stinks. I'm sure it's fine. I've checked it out. I'm just overwhelmed with the amount of content out there. It's a fine show. I have no problem with the show. There's just a ton of content out there. But I heard you might be excited because they're coming up back with a fourth season now.
I am excited, but I am cautiously optimistic about its return, and here's why. I think that, like a lot of TV, I think, the first season is so unique and fresh and interesting and fun that it's hard to top. And then season 2 was really good too. Season 2 was in that same category. I think season 3 kind of, I wouldn't say ran out of steam, but I don't think it was quite as good as the first 2 seasons, even though there were some fun moments and there were some great emotional moments that, you kind of realize as the show's ending. And now it's like, oh, hey, by the way, we're going to have a season 4, and I think this is Apple TV Plus's dive back into the intellectual property that it has, because I think they're looking for something that's got some staying power, and Ted Lasso, quite frankly, has staying power for them. But I will say this, I don't want this to just be the money grab that it sounds like it is, which it sounds like it's a money grab. It's a way for them to make sure that people are continuing to come back to their service or keeping their service, even though, George and I talk about this all the time. George is a huge fan of Apple TV Plus shows. He believes they have a very deep and growing library of TV shows, and I don't disagree with that. But obviously, I think Ted Lasso is the one show that probably universally has been loved by everybody that, maybe inspired them to keep or get Apple TV Plus. And I think that they're just kind of going back to the well here. And I fear that the biggest fear always in TV, I think, is the reduction in quality. And I think there could be a reduction in quality, even if you're bringing back the same people and you're bringing back the same writing staff. There's always going to be a moment of pause for almost anybody that says, well, everything, all the ingredients could be good, but something while you're cooking could just go wrong. And I'm hopeful of season 4, and I want them to bring back Ted Lasso because I think it's one of the all-time great comedies out there. But I also wonder if this is just a money grab, and do they really have a great story idea that they want to tell? And if they do, are they bringing it back as a one-off? Is it going to be a show that has a couple of more seasons? I mean, what's the status of that? I mean, obviously, a show like that didn't end because of its popularity not being there. They decided to end it because, hey, we thought this is a three season show. We're done. This is the story we want to tell, and we feel like we've ended it the way we need to end it, and everything's kind of sewn up. But now they're bringing something else back, and I've heard rumors that it could be about Ted Lasso maybe takes over the female AFC Richmond club. So we'll see if that's the case. But I just wonder, will have the same kind of magic now that it's gone through its initial run, it's ended, and now they're bringing it back because obviously this is a great money play for them.
Yeah, I saw that report, and I think this is a cool thing. I mean, I have nothing against if it's a women's team. I think Jason Sudeikis is a great champion for women's sports.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if you noticed, like when Caitlin Clark was, running for a national title, like he was in the crowd for a lot of the games and everything. So good for Jason Sudeikis. And I don't know if, maybe he was like, hey, this is a new twist if I can coach a women's team, or if he's like, hey, I feel passionate about women's sports. Let's run it back with a women's team. I don't know.
Yeah. I hope that's the case. And I look, I mean, I think there's always going to be a level of interest, in that. And I think that obviously they're going to make it fun. And, I mean, you would imagine it's going to be classic Ted Lasso, but I just hope that everybody gets in on this, and everybody that is in on this, that they bring back the entire team, if you will, the writing team, directing, everything like that, it's going to work, and they have a great idea, and that it's not just Apple TV Plus wants to make more money, so a season 4 and 5 or something of Ted Lasso will easily prop up some of their popularity. I mean, if that's the case, then they could have just continued, from that story. But and I think a lot of it was that maybe they were done with Ted Lasso. Maybe the creators and the people involved were like, okay, I think we've told our story, and I don't think we have to do anything else. Now they feel like they have to do something else, or feel like they want to do something else. And that's fine if like the creators and everybody said, hey, we'd love to get in on this, and we'd love to make a season 4, and here's our idea. And Apple TV Plus is like, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do that. So hopefully that's what it was. I just hope it wasn't Apple TV Plus going to Jason Sudeikis saying, hey, any thoughts on a season 4? And obviously, there's probably the initial groundswell of, well, what about a season 4 of Ted Lasso, or season 4 and 5 of Ted Lasso? And then you've got to say, okay, well, we can't do it unless we get Jason Sudeikis. We can't do it unless we get X, Y, and Z cast members. If we need a new showrunner, or if we need a new whatever, then so be it. So I do wonder, how the legs of this kind of got started. My guess is that somebody had an idea for it, and it was kind of powwowed about. And then now it's like, well, we can't do it unless Jason Sudeikis does it. So they go to him probably. Oh yeah, I'm in. Or I thought about this idea, so yeah, sure, I'm definitely in. We'll see, but I'm just interested to see how it plays out. I'm assuming they're going to go in a different direction, but you're going to have similar cast members from the first 3 seasons, and you just hope that it all comes together, because I love Ted Lasso, and I'm glad that it's coming back, but I'm also hesitant that it could just be a cash grab and they're just going to throw something together just because they need to or want to, or Apple TV Plus is like, we want to make more money, we want more subscribers.
The older I get, Craig, if we had this conversation 40 years ago, I might be like, cash grab, whatever. I understand cash grab does matter, though. You know what I mean?
It does. No, and I'm not, look, I mean, I talk about it a lot with Bob and George, and I don't love the intellectual property society that we live in. I love watching creativity and new things, and especially when it comes to movies. And look, I'm nostalgic, so I'll watch a remake of something, or a reimagining of something or whatever. But at the end of the day, nothing really beats the creativity of things. And TV is a little different because you can have. I mean, me and my wife are binge watching Law and Order SVU, like all 25 seasons. We're in like season 16 right now, even though we've watched a lot of the episodes, and we wanted to kind of start it from start to finish or whatever. And that's a daunting task. It's a lot of episodes. I got to say, I mean, we're talking 500 episodes, but and obviously some of the episodes are familiar and you're like, I've seen this. I remember seeing this like 12 times now. But, sometimes it's fun just to go back to the well, and, there's 25 seasons of Law and Order SVU. So, that's is going back to the well as much as you can at this point in TV. So I'm not going to bemoan a season 4 of Ted Lasso, because I get it. The intellectual property is strong, and, Hacks is coming back in April. And I knew it was coming back this year after a long hiatus between the last couple of seasons, and last season was an end of the year kind of season, and now we're already back into a new season of Hacks, so I'm excited about that. So TV is a little bit different than movies for me, because I don't mind multiple seasons of a show as opposed to 2 or 3 of the same movie, which I don't really care for. So I'm excited, but we'll see. It's a wait and see, but I'm super excited that Ted Lasso will be back on TV screens in the near future.
Well, we've got to do a ton of content about this, but speaking of remakes, you saw the Office news. Oscar Nunez is coming to the new Office.
Yeah, kind of. I mean,
I don't know what to make of
this. I don't know what to make of it either. I mean, we talked about this, and the idea is that this is going to be in the Office universe, so we get that. But then you're also like, isn't this about journalism, and how is Oscar going to be? I don't know. We'll see how it all comes together. I think we both have sort of tempered expectations for it. We want it to be good, because I love movies about journalism because I live it, but then I also know that sometimes those kinds of things can fall apart, and sometimes things aren't as accurate, and you're like, it's kind of cringy to you when you're in the journalism world. So it's really great when it's great TV or movie about journalism, but then it really puts you off when it's not so good. And I would imagine that like an Office-like comedy is not going to be super attention to detailed on that kind of stuff, where they're going to be like super journalism accurate. We'll see, but I just feel like they're going to probably, since it's a comedy show for the sake of comedy, not that the journalism world can't produce comedy on its own, being accurately portrayed, but I do wonder how accurate the portrayal will actually be, though.
I'm excited and terrified at the same time. I mean, we could talk about this for 4 hours, but
yeah,
I want to sum up my thoughts in a second. I'm excited and terrified. Hey, we're up against time. I know you've got another appointment in a few minutes. Are you happy about Conan coming back? I saw news this morning. He's coming back to host next year's Academy Awards.
Yeah, I'm actually really happy. I thought he did a nice job. I mean, look, the Oscar shows are always, 4 hours long, it seems, but I really thought, Conan O'Brien's hosting kind of reminded me a little bit of like Ricky Gervais in the, hosting when he hosted the Golden Globes for so many years. It was biting at people, but it wasn't mean-spirited. Like I thought Ricky Gervais would sort of be mean-spirited at times, whereas Conan was more self-deprecating and then also poking fun at the celebrities. So I thought Conan did a nice job, and I can't wait for him to host next year.
Fantastic. Well, Craig, thank you so much. My kids are in the background. My daughter made some. She's talking to me right now. So, thanks for your patience for everything, and thanks for checking us out. We'll be. We hope to be back next week. I think we can. Let's check our schedules.
Yeah.
For Craig, this is Chris. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye bye.